This is Blenderstyle, the show where we discuss a blend of heavy and extreme music. On this episode, Diablo Swing Orchestra, Swagger and Stroll Down the Rabbit Hole. This album was released in 2021 on Candlelight Records. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
I've only heard a couple of Diablo Swing Orchestra songs before this. This was your pick, Casey. How'd you come up with this?
So I'm kind of with you on that. I had only heard a couple singles. I think I heard something from their last album, and then the Spanish one. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it.
Oh, yeah, right.
Popped up on my feed on YouTube, and I listened to it, and it was really, really good. And so I kind of went down that rabbit hole.
Have you heard this before, Nathan? This band?
One time, Casey showed me when we showed up to edit, and it was just me and him, and he showed me a song, and I was like, "Whoa!"
I think I heard two songs. And I didn't even realize it was the same band at first.
Yeah, and
Off
that's
this
kind of where I
album.
was at with it. Yeah.
What do you even call this music?
I hear ska, swing, rock, and a little bit of metal.
Yeah, so technically they're an avant-garde metal band.
Avant-garde metal, yeah.
From Sweden, but I'm with you. There's a little bit of everything in here. I think I caught hints of theater, film, tribal, folk, metal, jazz, gospel.
Mm-hmm.
There's kind of a little bit of everything in here.
There's lots of instruments on it.
There's a lot
For
of
sure.
instruments.
Like acoustic instruments, but there's also electronics going on as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of horns, though.
Yeah, a lot of brass.
There's a lot
Yeah.
of horns going on, and I think that's very forward in it, too.
Mm-hmm.
So when
So it has a swing to it, for sure.
the band's called Diablo Swing Orchestra, it's not all electro swing at
No,
all.
it's
It's
not,
not like
not
a
at all.
Caravan Palace album.
No,
Great band, by the way.
there's some kind of gospel-y sounding, almost like church music sounding things, and then some kind of something you hear in the 50s at a big band
Yeah.
show. It's weird.
But it's futuristic.
It is. It's weird because they don't pull any punches, and they kind of they're not afraid to put themselves out there with it. They'll take some pretty weird steps going from one style to another, even in the same song that
Totally.
you're just like, that shouldn't work together, but it does.
Mhm.
And it's primarily female vocals, right? There's a female lead singer.
So there's a female lead singer and a male lead singer, but I think most of this album is headed by the female singer.
She's more prominent in the record, for sure.
Yeah, and I think this is only her second album with them.
Mhm.
This is their first album to feature the same lineup as a previous album. They've changed lineups. I think this is their fifth album.
I think the guitar player is the main guy,
I
right?
think so.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think I saw that in an interview. He's like,
Because this isn't very guitar-driven.
it's not. And he talks about it in this interview I was listening to, that he's he wants the horns and stuff to be even in the mix with the guitar. That's why you don't hear a lot of heavy guitar in it.
Yeah. Even when it gets the guitar gets heavy, it's not
It's not
heavy.
loud.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not.
It's very rhythmic.
Mm-hmm.
There's no lead guitar stuff
Right.
really on here. It's very rhythmic and
It's like an orchestra or a big band, right? Everyone's
very
playing.
swing. Yeah, it reminds me of Big Daddy Zipper.
Cherry Poppin' Daddy.
Cherry Poppin' Daddy.
Wait, were you confusing Cherry Poppin' Daddy and Squirrel Nut Zipper?
Squirrel. He was Squirrel Nut. That's funny. There's different languages going on too.
Yeah, I
A lot
think
of Spanish.
there's some Spanish in it. I don't know what
They're
other-
from Sweden, though, right?
They
Yeah,
are
dude.
from
Yeah.
Sweden, and that's what makes it really, really cool.
I thought they were from Mexico. There's a
I thought they were actually American.
there's
To
the
tell you the
artwork
truth.
is very Dia de Muertos or whatever.
Yeah, and so that song that's in
Sugar
Spanish
Skulls,
is
yeah.
celebrating the Day of the Dead. But I'm with you. So I'd heard an earlier song from their previous album, and then the one in Spanish came up on my feed, and I listened to it. I didn't realize it was the same band. I thought it was a different band from Mexico. And then when the album came out, I actually pre-ordered it off of that song because I was like, that's really good. And then when the album came out, I was like, wait a minute, this isn't all in Spanish. This isn't even a Mexican band. And then I
They're
noticed
from
the
Sweden.
Then I noticed the postmark on the package was from Sweden, and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Interesting, yeah.
So they hop around quite a bit, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I like about it, is that it hops around a lot. This shit's fucking crazy,
Mhm.
dude. Like, there's so much weird stuff going on. It's really interesting. Like, this never gets boring.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked how, like I said earlier, that they weren't afraid to go from one style to another, and they're not kind of boxing themselves in like a lot of bands do. They're really all over the place, but the transitions between styles is really cool. And the fact that you could listen to this album 100 times and find something new on it every single time is one of the best parts about it. It doesn't get stale.
No, I listened to this a shitload of times, and I still don't think I have a full grasp on it.
I really like the bass in it, actually.
Interesting.
The bass guitar and the it's very rhythmic. For some reason, everything is rhythm, with horns just layered on top of it, which is different to hear.
Every song is like fun, like it has a fun energy. You know what I mean? Like everything's bouncing, and it's like it's just like it kind of reminds me of that dude that like is fun to hang out with because he has like too much energy. But it starts to get exhausting for us introverts too much.
He's like, calm down, dude.
It's like
he's just dancing everywhere.
He's like, hey guys, you're like, hey, this is fucking awesome. Oh my god, we're doing an hour of this?
Like, how can you do this?
There's some fucking bangers on this. Like, there's tracks you can absolutely put on a playlist for like a party or whatever, and it's gonna work so good.
Yeah, so I would agree. There's tracks, like, there's a ton of really great tracks on here, but even the ones that aren't super strong, because there's so many change-ups throughout it, I don't think a single song on this album starts off where it ends.
Yeah, you're kind of right.
I think some songs do.
I think
some songs actually.
Speed Dating and Arsonist, really snappy. That's the one that's really swing sounding.
There's only maybe 2 tracks on here that start off where they end. For the most part, there's enough change-ups. Even if they end where they start, there's a twist in the middle that kind of changes it up, I think. So it always leaves you guessing on where it's going to go. And so I think you touched on this last week when we were talking about getting ready to do this show, was you can't put a sound to this because right when you think you have it figured out, the next song comes on and you're like, oh no, wait, they're a completely different band.
Yeah, you can't even like identify what genre this is. And that's kind of one of the things I don't like about it, is that it doesn't really have an identity.
I would agree with that 100%. That's like exactly what I wrote too, yeah.
It's just like everything in the kitchen sink, right?
And it actually kind of starts to sound the same to me. Like, I know that they're changing constantly and stuff, but like, it's kind of sounds the same to me. I don't know. It's almost predictable to me. I don't know why, but because you guys are saying the opposite, but I don't know. It's kind of.
I can kind of see that, right? Because you're like, I know something wacky is going to happen.
Well, each song is wacky. I think they do change it up in each song, but they don't drastically change. Like, say, like a band like Dillinger, or like Stop Go changing. You know what I mean? Everything kind of flows, and it has that rhythm.
Yeah, even if it changes, it still keeps the same tempo or the same backbeat kind of thing going on.
Yeah, it kind of keeps the same kind of feel to it. That's kind of one of my dislikes about it.
And the wackiness kind of makes it hard for me to take seriously.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not scary wacky. It's like happy, fun Disneyland wacky.
Yeah, Disneyland wacky, exactly.
It's goofy.
Yeah, it's goofy. Like, there's not emotional parts in this that like really touch me or anything like that. It's just kind of silly the whole time. It's fucking rad because they're all over the place. That's what I like about it. But
great musicianship and songwriting.
These guys are killing it.
Yeah, and I would have to agree. There's parts on this that you kind of have to wade through to get to the great stuff.
This album got better as it went, I think.
It did, and it got better
more
as you
plays too, yeah.
And then there's like this, there's this kind of, and I think it kind of hints back to the bass sound that you were talking about. There's almost this muddiness to it, and it almost sounds muddy, but I think it's that bass drive, because I think they use some distortion on the bass and the upright basses, almost like they're clipping at points. But it sounds really good, and it fits really good with the album. But I could see it as being a drawback to some people who would think that, maybe the sound engineering isn't great. I think to wrangle this many different instruments or sounds and styles and tempos into one and make it cohesive is a feat on its own. But at the same time, I think I could see where some of the muddiness kind of almost like there's a compression to it.
This is like a video game that I put like 30 hours into and beat and like got everything, and then afterwards was just like, I didn't like it.
They're like Game Plus, and you're like, damn it, now I got to go back.
You know what I mean? Like I put just Like I listened to it and I enjoyed it while I was playing it, but at the end of it, like reflecting on it, I'm like, I don't even know what happened. Like
Yeah.
I had a good time during it, but I'm just like, I don't even know what happened.
I like dancing, but I'm not dancing to this.
Yeah, I'm not gonna dance to anything, honestly. But I also feel
Well,
like
this
there's
is very dancey. Like in the beginning,
It
and this
is
is
very
kind of one of
dancey.
the things where like, well, here's a like and a dislike, is that it starts out to where I'm not enjoying it very much because it's very dancey. At one point, I think like even a D'Ant word or,
there's some feels of that.
and then, but later on, I hear more like even like a Led Zeppelin rock feel to it, and that's like later on in the album. I think like the last 3 tracks of this are more rocky feeling almost. At least that's what I get.
No, I agree.
And if they had a little bit more of that, I think I would have enjoyed it more.
I get what you're saying. I got that D'Ant word kind of. I think it's the high pitched like female vocals.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like kid like.
and then there's some parts where they have like sounds, like chicken sounds or
Like samples and weird shit going. Yeah, dude, it's
where
like Disneyland.
It's cool, but at the same time, you're like, do we need like the weird sound? I mean, I get where they're coming from. Like,
I've just heard this sound before, like the whole swing thing. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not.
They're not blowing you away.
No, it's like it sounds like every swing song I've ever heard.
see, I think that there's some hidden agendas behind it, like the War Painted Valentine. There's the one where they have it's kind of like a chicken sounding part in it where they sound like it, and it doesn't make any sense. But then when you read the lyrics, it's because they're pretty much saying like all these people in power are just like have this chickens ranting and nobody understands or cares about.
Sorry, I don't mean to.
No,
this is my dislike. Also,
there's like this
because when you
agenda to
look
it.
into them, there's actually genuine emotion and there's something going on there.
Yeah.
But when I listen to them, I don't feel that, and that kind of I like.
Well, that's kind of
You know
my
what I
dislike
mean?
too. Is it's like how much how much effort do I have to put into like this
Exactly.
band?
Yeah, well, that's
It's
the thing.
deep, but I'm just like fuck.
Yeah,
Dude.
so
I had to read about it.
You could listen to it and like the songs and like the structure and like the different sounds and all that other stuff. But yeah, to really get into like the meaning of it, they're having so much fun that you don't understand the underlying tone or subject
It's like
without doing a lot of research on it.
it's like paying like hundreds of dollars to go to Disneyland and then paying extra money to do the tour underneath Disneyland to see how everything
Disney World.
works.
I guess
To
it's
like understand how like the behind the scenes work.
Yeah.
I just don't want to put that much effort into something that's not that.
Well, but at the same time, you could have just as much fun or have a great day just doing the Disneyland part.
Yeah, you could exactly.
You could,
but I
just
don't
listen
choose
to it.
to go to Disneyland.
But that's
This is
the thing.
like why I don't.
It's one of those missing out things.
It's not a Fantasia.
Well, but it's
I
one
like
of those.
Fantasia.
Dude, Fantasia's so good. No, but it's one of those missing out things because you could go to Disneyland your entire life and be totally satisfied. It'd be the greatest thing of your life. But then if you find out there's a fucking backstage tour where you can see all the inner workings and find out how it works, then you're going to go to Disneyland every time feeling like you missed out on all the cool stuff.
Okay, I don't want to walk miles and miles and miles and miles and miles to figure that out though, because you're going. So
Exactly. You're like, this is the fucking teacups, bro.
I get that some people that like the music right off the bat, they're gonna figure that out right away because they're gonna read the lyrics or get into the band. Like I heard it and I was like, well,
It's like those nerds that
I'm
buy
not
like
gonna go any further.
they buy the Mickey Mouse like Letterman jackets. They're like in from the beginning. They're like, I'm all about it.
And that's how I feel this band is. So that's why I kind of give them some.
Do they have like Uber fans?
I guarantee you, they got like
have
die-hard fans.
They have
for
the
sure.
coolest fucking bio for them, though.
I heard about that. Homeboy just like wrote it on a whim, and it's like
Yeah.
some like guar shit.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's a cool story.
Yeah.
And like stuff like that, the quirkiness of this band is what makes them great. The quirkiness, the willing to take risk and stuff is great. I'm agreeing with you guys. I don't think all the extra underlying political tones and all this other stuff, I think it's kind of a disservice because I think this band works better as a fun band to not take so serious and just like for their musical talent and their ability to like mix all these weird different styles together and kind of throw the social norm or the musical norm out the window. It works great like that. But I think to, like you said, dig deeper kind of ruins it.
No, I think if you dig deeper, it makes it better. But I don't want to have to dig through.
Well, that's what I'm getting
saying.
at. You shouldn't have to. It should be right there, presented in the forefront. And the fact that you have to dig deeper for this kind of makes it knocked down a little bit. So, I mean, other than that, what would you guys rate this?
I give this a 3.3 out of 5. It's a fun album. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally worth checking out.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend a lot of time listening to it. It's not bad in any respect. 3.3.
I would give it a 2.8. I would probably never listen to this as an album ever again. But I give them props for what they're doing and stuff. It's just not my dance.
Yeah.
2.8.
So I give this a 4.6.
Whoa.
This is probably my favorite album of last year.
Wow.
This is exactly what I need in an album to keep my attention because it's all over the place and it doesn't stay. Like, my issue with something is if it stays the same, I'm like, I'm going to go over here and do something else. This keeps my attention because it's constantly changing and it's really cool. I didn't dive into like the lyrics and all that stuff until 2 days ago. So I didn't have that opportunity to really dig into the political part or anything. I just kind of touched on it. So to me, it was still fun. It was still exciting. It was still fresh. And I was still discovering new stuff the whole way through. So 4.6.
That's
And it's
awesome,
like
man.
and it's an hour-long album, so you got more time to spend
Oh,
with it.
yeah. I love long albums.
I thought this was a different album at one point while listening to it because I was like listening to
Did
it on
something happen to
Spotify.
my playlist?
Then I go and I look and I was like, no, it's still this album.
Well, and so that's something to touch on too. So like when we were at Matt's house hanging out and he was playing it the other day,
Mhm.
like every time I listened to this album, I was either driving out to work or like sitting in my office, like listening to it. Never listened to it in passing in the background kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you were playing and we were all talking and stuff and like some of the songs later on in the album came on, I was like, what is this?
It's a good album to put on with friends because it does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is Blenderstyle. That was Diablo Swing Orchestra, Swagger and Stroll Down the Rabbit Hole.
Hey, hon, can you grab my hat and blender? Style?